Welcome back to my channel Flying High 54. In this series I discuss all things related to aviation. In this part 3, I will discuss the basics of aviation weather and the importance of checking the weather forecasts for your planned flight. There are still too many accidents where pilots are unprepared for bad weather along their route and then try to push through the bad weather and then either get disorientated through spatial disorientation or even worse where the aircraft suffer structural failure due to severe turbulence. I will cover the basics of synoptic charts and how to interpret them, the symbols and meaning of a station report, high and low pressure areas, isobars, cold and warm fronts and their associated weather, cloud types, TAFs and METARs and weather radar, Stormscopes. Shown here is a sample synoptic chart with annotations to indicate the expected weather conditions when analyzing a synoptic chart. It indicates the areas of high and low pressures with the associated air mass flow direction around each system. Please note that this is true for the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, the airflow direction is reversed. It also shows the isobars, lines of equal pressure, where the spacing between the isobars an indication of the pressure gradient. Usually, the closer the isobars is to each other, the steeper the pressure gradient and the higher the wind speed will be. The annotated pressures is in kilopascal and the values should be multiplied by 10 to convert to hectopascal or millibar. For the smaller blue pressure numbers, either a 9 or a 10 should be added in front of the number to get hectopascal or millibar. The term millibar is not really in use anymore but rather expressed as hectopascal. The chart also indicates the positions of the cold fronts, blue lines with triangles, and warm fronts, red lines with half circles. We will have a look at each with their typical associated weather later in the video. Next we will look at the typical legend of each station report. This image represents the current and preceding 3 hours of weather at a reporting station. The center circle indicates the amount of cloud cover as shown in the bottom right-hand corner. Above the center circle, the medium and high cloud symbols are displayed. The rest of the symbols are self-explanatory. Note that the wind direction is the direction from which the wind is blowing. The cloud type symbols are explained on the second image. In this graphical image the propagation of warm and cold fronts can be seen with typical cloud and weather patterns which develop with the passing of these fronts. With the passing of a warm front, on the right-hand side of the image, the warm air following the warm front, slides over the colder air in front of it with a gradual uplifting and the typical associated cloud formation resulting in the possibility of steady rain. The first signs of an approaching warm front is usually the formation of a band of high-level cirrus clouds followed by the lower level of altostratus and nimbostratus clouds with associated rain as the warm moist air is lifted and cooled to the dew point temperature. The passing of a cold front is much more intense as the colder air behind the cold front is wedged in under the warmer air in front of it with a much steeper uplifting of the moist warm air in front of it with much more severe weather that form as a result. This creates much more dangerous weather conditions for pilots with typical associated thunderstorms. This is why it is so important for pilots, especially those without an instrument rating, or those with limited actual instrument flying experience, to obtain the weather forecasts for their intended flight. Most meteorology offices will supply you with a detailed forecast and it only takes a telephone call, or you can get the forecasts from a TAF, Terminal Aerodrome Forecast, for stations along your route and your destination. Do not be a bold pilot. Shown here is a TAF for JFK Airport with explanation of each line of text in the TAF. Some TAFs might have a probability, or temporarily, included which indicate the probability of rain or a temporary change of conditions. If a temp is included, it states the timeframe of the change. A Stormscope can be a great help to avoid bad weather. Unfortunately, very few general aviation aircraft is equipped with these and it is therefore critical for pilots to get proper weather forecasts before and during a flight. It is also important to verify that the Stormscope, if fitted, is functioning correctly and you are proficient in the use and operation of such. Like all instruments, never just assume that it is operating correctly. Proper testing and observation is critical for use.